Hello and welcome back to our next session. We're going to do some exploring creating with Scratch today. And we're going to go ahead and create the infamous snake game. I don't know if you've ever done that before, but this should be fun. So I'm already logged in, so you want to make sure that you're logged in if you have an account. If you don't have an account, you can either create one. I have another video to help with that. And if not, no worry. You can just click create and you're off to the races. And then later on, you can download it and then you can play it with offline Scratch as well. So here we are. It's going ahead and creating the project. And we have our basics. So we have on the right hand side our codes. We have in the middle here our area that we're going to drag and drop our code into. And then on the right hand side, we have our stage where the magic happens. So first of all, we're actually going to we're going to get rid of the um, cat in here, and we're going to go and create or get two sprites. And so first of all, we're going to go choose a sprite. And so in this example, I'm going to have the snake go and collect apples in there. Now, you can go and have the snake go and collect anything you want, but and the coding will be the same. You'll just have to do it on that different sprite. So again, to know which sprite that you're coding on, we have up here in the top uh, corner here, you can see that it's got a little silhouette. Also, this is selected blue to know that that is the correct um, sprite that you're on. And so the other one was the snake. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a snake. And the reason I'm going to create it is because the snake is sort of going to be, and if you've played this game before, is it's going to create a clone of itself, or it's going to get longer and longer um, as it eats the apples. And so you can explore with using some of the ready-made sprites that are in here, but I'm going to go ahead and create using um, the opportunities here in the paint. So I'm going to have my outline as black. I'm going to make this line a little bit thinner, and then the fill. So I'm going to have. Do I want to have like a green snake? Or maybe there's like an orange snake. Maybe if I have like a dark orange snake would be cool. Yeah, it's almost like a brownish. So once I've picked my color, I'm going to go here and create a little box. So I'm actually going to hold down shift, and that creates a little box for me. If I had not held down shift, so if I just click on this one and delete, or I can press delete up here, and press that box and I just click and drag, this will make a rectangle. Now I can try to make it a square as perfect as I want, but if I just hold on to shift while I'm creating this, then it will make a square for me. The same sort of thing when you're dealing with the oval, it will make it into a circle. And when you're using the straight line, if you hold down shift, it will make sure that it's at sort of horizontal. There we are. So that's a good size for my snake, I think. I'm going to add a couple eyes to it. If you want to make it bigger, you can go ahead and make it bigger. Oh, I accidentally did that because I'm still making boxes. So I'm just going to click on that. I'm going to click on that to make circle eyes, and maybe they'll be nice and red. That'll sort of be interesting. I'll bring that there. And then I'm not worried about them being circles, but I am going to make the outline smaller. Looks good. If I wanted to have them the exact same, I could just click on that one and do a copy and then paste. And then, so now that they're the exact same. There we are. Looks pretty good. I actually like that now. So now that we've got our two sprites that we're going to be using, we can go ahead and do some coding. Now the coding, I'm actually gonna start with the apple because it's relatively easy to start off with. So the apple, I guess number one, I'm gonna make it a little bit smaller. So I just go in here into size and let's say 60%. Essentially something about the same size as our snake. Now you're probably wondering, well, it's just like the head of the snake right now. That's true. And so, but as the snake will move, um, it will create its tail and a longer and longer in tail, and so we'll explore with that. So I've changed my apple, and I'm going to go ahead and do some coding on the apple. So number one is we need an event to get this started off. So when the green flag is clicked, we're going to start off with that. And then we're actually going to have it start off hidden and then sort of randomly go around the screen. And you'll see what I mean when I start doing that. Now, because I have a hide in here, I'm also going to grab a show because I know that I'm going to need this at some point. And so I'm going to put this here just to get myself prepared. And then the next thing here is we're going to go to a random position. So anywhere on our screen, and then we have, or on the stage, and then we have this show. So if we just run this right now, there we go, looks good. But we don't want this to happen just once. We want it to happen over and over again. So what we need to do is we need to grab a forever loop. And so inside that forever loop, we're going to be doing something similar to what we have here. And so what we could actually do is that we could duplicate this, put it inside here. But now, I don't know about you, but I think this is a little bit too fast. I'm not going to be able to grab the apple. So we don't want this hide, go to random position, show yet. Right here within the forever loop, we actually want to have a condition to be met before that happens. And so a condition is again found in a control, and it's actually this if statement here. So if the sprite 1, or if I'm going to go over here, I'm actually going to change it to be snake. I'll just spell that correctly. So snake. So go back over to apple. So if, and I can go in here into sensing, touching, snake, hide, go to random position, and then show. So let's see if that works. So right now my snake doesn't move, but if I just drag and drop my snake there, hey, look, it moved. If I drag and drop my snake there, it will move again. So we know that that code is working. Great. So now what we can do is we've got the start for our apple to be coded. So now we can jump over to our snake and we can start to code it. All right. So again, we're going to start off at the very beginning, forever, not forever, but when green flag clicked. And then we're going to do this, we're going to do a forever. And we're going to actually, so the way that we're going to like make our body longer is we're going to make clones of ourselves. And so those clones are found within the control category at the bottom here. So there's these 3 blocks that we're going to explore today. And so we're going to create a clone of myself in there. And so now if I press play, right now it's creating a whole bunch of clones, and you'll see all these different clones. I can't even move them all fast enough. There's so many of them here. I think this one is the original, so So this one or this one? I don't know. Doesn't matter. But there's lots and lots of clones in there. So that's good. We're getting started. The next thing we need to do is we want to move around. Okay? And so again, we're going to be moving in here. So what I need to do is there's a couple things that we're going to do. So one of them is we're going to have again when green flag clicked, and we're going to go into our control, and click in forever. And there's a couple things here. We're going to go into our if statements. I'm just going to make this nice and big in the middle here. So, and then we're going to go into sensing, and then here we're going to use our key presses, but up arrow. So we're going to say if up arrow is pressed, then we're going to point in the direction that is up. And so I'm just going to go into motion, and there's an option here. Point in direction. Right now it says 90, but we're going to actually point up. And so we're just going to repeat this 4 times. So our down arrow is going to be down. And then the cool thing is now that I have these two, I can click on it and it will duplicate both of those. So now I've got that there, that there. I'm just going to get out a little bit. I'm just going to stop running the code so it's not selected and not doing things. So we've got up arrow is 0, down arrow is 180. We got to the right is going to go to the right, and left arrow is to the left. Now, right now, we only have us pointing in a certain direction. So if we run this, you can see how I'm pointing in the direction, but I'm not actually moving yet. And so what we're going to do is we're going to need some motion in here. And so we can have this motion and bring that in here. So we've got motion, and right now it's 10 steps, but we're going to change that in a few seconds. So you'll see how, there we are. So we've gotten a start there, but there's a couple things wrong with our code. Oh, so one of the things that you might notice is now the head is like separated from the body. Well, in Scratch, you can actually only have up to 300 clones, and so we've already hit that maximum. But that's okay because we're gonna delete some clones as we go through here. Okay, and so that's another piece of block. So right now we've got one piece of code to help us create our clones, and we've got another piece of code to help us move in a certain direction. And so the next thing we need to do is we're actually going to introduce a variable so that we can use this move in here. So I'm going to go to variables, and I'm going to click on make a variable, and this one we're going to call speed. So that's how fast we're going to go. And so this one in here is going to be based on our speed that we're moving. And so we have to do some code with that to help make it go faster or slower. And then the next thing is to do with our clones, how many we're going to have behind us. And so again, that based on when we hit the apple, we're going to speed up. And also when we hit the apple, we're going to get longer. And so we're actually going to do this code underneath the apple because we haven't done anything on the snake to do with, we haven't done any coding on the snake to do with when it hits the apple. That is here. And so we're actually going to change not my variable, but change our speed. So when we are in the apple, we're going to hide, we're going to go to a random position, we're going to show it, but we're also going to change the speed by 1. So that'll make us start to go faster. And with that, we also need to make our speed have a certain value to start with. And so that's where we need to use this um, set at the very beginning. And so we can set that here. So set my speed, and maybe we'll start off very slow. Maybe we can start at 2. And here we can have 1, but we can have 0.2, we can have 0.1. So I'll just start with 1 for right now, and then let's see what happens with that. The other thing is my clones, or the length of my tail. So I'm going to call this variable tail. And so one of the things here, so again, I'm going to change my speed or make my snake go faster. I'm also going to change my tail. I'm going to increase my tail. So again, I can start this at 1. And, or I'm going to change it by 1, but I'm also going to start my tail at 1, for example. We can just start it here. Let's see what happens. So now that we've used these, we need to go back to our snake, and we need to introduce the tail in here. We haven't done anything with that because we're just going to have these clones piling up on top of each other. We have yet to remove any clones. And so we're going to go back into our control, and at the bottom here, when I start a clone, and then we're going to wait, not wait until, sorry, we're going to wait a number of seconds, and we're actually going to wait tail amount of seconds. So if we go in here to click on tail, and so if our tail is 2, we're going to wait 2 seconds and then delete our tail. Now again, we might say, oh, this 2 seconds or this change that we're using here, this change one is too much or not enough. That's where we can explore with that. So you can see how I'm getting faster. So a couple things that you'll notice, it goes really fast soon, and it will become impossible. And also I'm not losing if I hit myself, and I'm not losing if I hit the edge. So those are 2 other things that we need to add in. So the first thing was my speed and my tail were very big, and so I'm actually going to change my speed to be a lot smaller. And then I'm also going to change my tail to be a lot smaller, even smaller than my speed. So let's run this again and see what happens. There we go. It seems a little bit better. I like it. Now you can see I'm sort of getting a little bit bigger, and you can see the speed is increasing as well. Because you don't want it to be super hard from the beginning. You want to give a little bit of a challenge in here. Great. Awesome. Okay, so now that I've done that, so I feel good about that. My Apple, I think my Apple has got all the code that I need now for all of it to work. So now I'm going to go back to my snake, and I'm going to do the last little piece of code. So right now I've got this block here. So this one, again, is to create those little clones. So that is my tail. And then this one actually makes my tail go away, so it's not a really, really, really long tail. And then we've got this block of code here that will help me move around. So we've got our pointing in a certain direction, and then we're moving a certain speed. So now the last thing that I need to do is if we're touching the edge. So if I touch the edge, then I want to essentially stop the game. And so what we can do now is at any point, so when the green flag is clicked, and so we want to be checking this constantly, so forever, and then another if statement, and then in here in the sensing, we can say if touching edge, we can set our speed, so we can stop moving. And then we can also have like a game over. Again, if you want to have a game over, then you can have that there. If you don't want to have a game over, then that's okay. So I'm going to, yeah, so I'm going to go into events, and then I'm broadcasting an event. Now this broadcast actually tells everybody, okay, we're going to go to game over. So I'm going to say game over. So now that I have that, I'm going to then, so there's one thing that I just forgot to add in here, and I think I actually put it, I didn't tell my snake where to start. And so right here, so this one is all sort of dependent on the movement and the location of it. So I'm going to put this right here. So above the forever, I'm going to tell it to go to a certain spot. And then the other thing too is that I put over here on the apple, even though it's like sort of dependent on the snake, I can also explore this. So I can start off with something a little bit faster, and I think the tail starts off too long, so I'm going to shrink it a little bit. And so if I do this, oh, now I'm going way too fast. I like this better. So now if I hit the edge, my speed goes to 0, but then nothing else happens. So now we have to create a game over display. And so the way to do that is we're going to go into our backdrops, and we're not going to choose a backdrop, we're going to paint a backdrop. And so we have our regular backdrop, which is number 1, which is completely blank. Backdrop number 2, we're going to add some text. So we're going to click on text. I like that font. I like that color. We're just going to click here, and we're going to say game over. Great. And then once we click off of it, it will select it, and so we can make it nice and big. And I'm going to just make it in the middle. And so now we're going to go back into the code. So we're going to do some coding within the backdrop. And so at the beginning, we're going to have when green flag clicked. Looks switch backdrop to the first one. So that was backdrop number 1. And then we're going to go back into events. And when I receive game over, it's going to say switch backdrop to 2. So let's play this and see what happens. So now I hit, it says game over. Great. So there's other sort of things that we can explore in the future too. So the apple is sort of in the way. We can also use this hiding and showing in there. So we can say that when I receive game over, looks is going to hide. So when I press it, there we go. And if you wanted to, you can use do the same sort of thing with your snake. It's completely up to you. But there you are, or there you have it in terms of all of the parts within here. The last thing that if you wanted to, you can also have that if you sort of hit yourself, you can explore with that. And so I'll leave that as a challenge for you if you want to try that out. Um, yeah, so if you need any help with that, please feel free to reach out. If and thanks again for watching. So bye for now, everyone, and happy coding.